Roots Beneath the Banyan, A Tale of Childhood Friendship. Chapter 1, Village Days. The sun rose each morning over a patchwork of golden fields and emerald green woods, painting the small village in hues of warmth and light. Nestled amidst this pastoral charm was the boy, Ravi, and the girl, Meera, whose lives intertwined like the roots of the banyan tree they loved to climb. Ravi lived in a modest house by the river, where his father tilled the land and his mother tended to chickens. Just a stone's throw away was Meera's home, bustling with the sounds of her mother preparing baskets of vegetables to sell at the market. Their days began early, with the crowing of roosters and the scent of earth freshly dampened by dew. From the moment they could toddle, Ravi and Meera were inseparable. Their mornings were a blur of school uniforms and hurried breakfasts, but the afternoons were where their hearts truly came alive. After school, they would race to their favorite spot, a little thicket by the edge of the village. There, they would lose themselves in endless games, pretending to be explorers, building forts from sticks, and chasing each other around trees. The village children often gathered together, their laughter echoing across the fields. Games of tag, hide-and-seek, and kabaddi filled their evenings. Ravi, being the oldest in their group, often took on the role of leader, while Meera's quick wit and creativity made her a favorite among the children. But it was the bond between Ravi and Meera that stood out, a friendship forged in the simplicity of their shared lives. Their parents, engrossed in the toil of farming and market sales, trusted the children to look out for each other. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the children would scatter to their homes, their feet dusty but their spirits light. Chapter 2, School Bonds and Challenges. The primary school sat at the heart of their village, a small, whitewashed building with a sloping red roof that seemed to shine brighter after every rain. It was surrounded by wide-open fields where children played during breaks and after school, their voices rising in a cacophony of laughter and shouts. For Ravi and Meera, this was their second home, a place that held as many trials as it did joys. Mornings at school began with the sound of the old brass bell, rung by the headmaster with deliberate authority. The children, clad in mismatched uniforms handed down from older siblings, would line up for the national anthem. Meera stood near the back of the line, her petite frame barely visible among the sea of students. Ravi, taller and more confident, always made sure to glance back and give her a reassuring smile. While school was a place of learning, it was also a microcosm of the wider world. Children from neighboring villages attended, bringing with them a mix of dialects, attitudes, and rivalries. Meera, quiet and gentle, often found herself the target of teasing. "Why are you so small, Meera?" the older kids would jeer. "Do you even eat?" They laughed, oblivious to how their words stung. Ravi was always nearby when these moments happened. One day, during lunch, a boy from another village snatched Meera's tiffin box, holding it high above her head. She stood frozen, her eyes welling up with tears, unsure of what to do. Before she could protest, Ravi appeared, his face stern and unyielding. "Give it back," he demanded, his voice steady but sharp. The boy smirked but hesitated, the confidence in Ravi's tone unsettling him. "Or what?" Ravi stepped closer, his fists clenched. "Or you'll find out." The boy, realizing he was outmatched, tossed the tiffin box to the ground and walked away, muttering under his breath. Ravi picked it up, dusting it off before handing it back to Meera. "Don't let them bother you," he said softly. "You're stronger than you think." From that day on, the bullies kept their distance, and Meera began to find her own courage. She stood a little taller in class, answered questions with more confidence, and even started helping other younger kids who struggled with their studies. Ravi's unwavering support had lit a fire within her, one that continued to grow. Despite these challenges, school was also a place of wonder and fun. The children loved to gather under the sprawling neem tree during recess, playing marbles or drawing hopscotch grids in the dirt with sticks. Ravi and Meera were the reigning champions of these games, their teamwork unmatched. One rainy day, when the fields were too muddy for outdoor play, the teacher allowed the children to stay inside and draw on slates. Ravi drew a picture of their village, a tiny house, a winding river, and a large banyan tree. Meera leaned over and added two stick figures standing beneath the tree, holding hands. "That's us," she said, her voice tinged with pride. School days flew by in a blur of lessons, laughter, and little moments like these that knitted their friendship even closer. At the end of each day, they would walk home together, their satchels swinging by their sides and their conversations drifting from school gossip to dreams of the future. "I'll be a pilot someday," Ravi declared one afternoon, his eyes sparkling. "I'll fly over our village and wave at you from the sky." Meera giggled, her shyness fading in the warmth of his optimism. "And I'll be a teacher," she replied. "I'll teach the children here, just like Miss Lakshmi. Maybe you can come back and visit my class." Ravi nodded. "Deal." In those moments, under the canopy of a golden sunset, life felt limitless. The future stretched out before them, vast and exciting, yet unknowingly fragile. Their school days weren't just about education, they were a foundation, a time of shared experiences and unspoken promises that would linger in their hearts forever. Chapter 3: Growing Together. The seasons in the village changed in gentle rhythms. Monsoon rains gave way to golden fields of harvest, and winter brought chilly mornings that slowly warmed under the shy sun. For Ravi and Meera, these cycles were marked by new adventures and deepening camaraderie. Every day after school, they would meet by the old banyan tree, their sacred place of refuge and imagination. The banyan tree was a world of its own. Its thick roots twisted into natural swings, and its canopy provided a cool shade even on the hottest days. Here, they played countless games, their laughter carried on the breeze to nearby fields. Sometimes, they pretended to be brave warriors defending their village from imaginary invaders. Other times, they were explorers discovering hidden treasures buried beneath the tree's roots. On quieter days, they simply talked. Ravi would dream aloud about the world beyond their little village. "Do you think there are mountains taller than the clouds?" he asked once, his eyes fixed on the distant hills. Meera, ever practical, smiled. "Maybe. But why do you want to leave? Everything we need is right here." "It's not about leaving," Ravi said. "It's about seeing. I want to know what's out there." Despite their different perspectives, their dreams often intertwined. When they weren't adventuring by the banyan tree, they ventured into the nearby bushes, pretending to be botanists discovering rare plants or building makeshift shelters from fallen branches. One rainy afternoon, they found an abandoned bird's nest nestled in the grass. Ravi carefully picked it up, showing Meera the intricate weaving of twigs and feathers. "It's like magic," he whispered. That night, he carved a tiny bird out of wood, presenting it to Meera the next day. "So you'll always remember the nest," he explained, handing it to her. Meera held the little bird close, a symbol of their shared wonder. As they grew older, their bond remained unshaken. Other children came and went, joining their games or drifting away to new friendships, but Ravi and Meera were constants in each other's lives. They supported one another through small failures, Ravi's struggles with arithmetic and Meera's shy stumbles in Chapter 4, The Move. The day Ravi's father announced their move to the city, the air in their home grew heavy with both excitement and sorrow. Ravi didn't want to leave, but he understood his father's reasoning. There will be more work in the city, his father explained. Better schools for you and your sister. Ravi couldn't sleep that night. The thought of leaving the village, the banyan tree, and Meera weighed heavily on him. He didn't know how to tell her. The next afternoon, as they sat under their tree, Ravi finally mustered the courage. "We're moving to the city," he said quietly. Meera looked up sharply, her eyes wide with disbelief. "When?" "In 2 weeks," Ravi replied. His voice cracked despite his effort to stay composed. Meera's lips quivered, but she quickly looked away, pretending to focus on a fallen leaf. "That's good for you," she murmured, though the tremor in her voice betrayed her. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of packing and goodbyes. On their last day together, Ravi and Meera walked to the riverbank, where they had spent countless hours skipping stones. Ravi handed her the little wooden bird, now tied to a simple string. "For you," he said. Meera nodded, clutching the bird like a lifeline. "You'll come back, won't you?" Ravi hesitated, then smiled. "Of course. One day." But as the truck carrying Ravi's family rumbled away, Meera stood by the roadside, waving until the dust settled and he was no longer in sight. A part of her knew that one day might never come. Chapter 5, Memories That Linger. Years passed, and the village transformed. The dirt roads were paved, shops replaced the open-air market, and new families moved in. Meera stayed, growing into a thoughtful young woman who eventually became a teacher at the same school she and Ravi had attended. She still kept the wooden bird, now slightly worn from years of handling. It hung by her bedside, a quiet reminder of her childhood and the friend who had been her anchor through those formative years. Every so often, her mind would wander to Ravi. Did he ever become the pilot he dreamed of? Was he happy in the city? Did he still remember their banyan tree and the stories they wove beneath its branches? On rare occasions, she'd ask travelers if they had heard of him, but no one ever had. The world outside the village was vast, and Ravi could be anywhere. Still, she held on to the hope that fate might bring them together again. One day, while teaching her students about the importance of friendship, she told them about her own childhood. "Sometimes, friends come into your life like the monsoon, refreshing, beautiful, and fleeting," she said. "But the memories they leave behind are like rivers, they carve paths in your heart that never fade. A childhood friend is like a shadow, you may not always see them, but they are always there."